Imagine having 400,000 rubles, enough to buy houses, ships, even entire districts of St. Petersburg. But what if I told you that all that wealth cannot buy the one thing that truly matters, the absence of fear? I felt it for the first time, a cold, sticky, almost physical dread that creeps up your spine when you stand before a choice that can overturn your entire life. To buy a diamond that brings death to everyone who calls it theirs, or walk away and risk losing the one thing more precious than any treasure. Tell me, what would you choose? My name is Grigory Orlov. There was a time when that name was spoken with respect, almost reverence, whispered in corridors, echoed in salons. I was the man who stood beside Empress Catherine II. Her closest companion, her strength, her shield. And I believed, perhaps too confidently, that such a place beside her was carved into fate itself, unshakable, eternal. But in 1773, I discovered a truth far harsher than any battlefield: even the favor of an empress is not forever. It fades, quietly, elegantly, like breath on cold glass. It begins with a look. A look that once lingered on you, as if afraid to lose you from its sight, now slips past, gently, almost imperceptibly, but enough to chill the blood. Then the smile changes. It becomes polite, faint, a gesture more of duty than of warmth. A smile that once belonged only to you now belongs to everyone and no one, like the distant glow of chandeliers in a grand, empty hall. And indifference is the truest winter. It does not scream. It does not strike. It simply erases. Erases you. I watched Catherine drift away from me, not with steps, not with words, but with the slow turning of a heart that no longer beats in your direction. And I, a man who faced armies, conspiracies, and death without blinking, suddenly feared the slow, unstoppable passing of time. I needed a gesture. A miracle. Something no minister, no nobleman, no general could offer. Not a title, not a victory, she already had all of that. I needed something impossible. Something the earth itself would give up only once. One winter evening we stood beside a tall palace window. St. Petersburg outside was silent, buried under snow so deep it seemed the whole city held its breath. Catherine touched the frosted glass, tracing it absent-mindedly. And then, almost to herself, almost as if speaking to the night, she said, "Imagine, Count, a diamond the size of an egg. A jewel the whole world would envy." She said it lightly, like a fleeting fancy. But to me, it was a chance. Perhaps my last one. A week later, late in the evening, when the city lay dark and frozen, Ivan Lazarev came to me. Banker. Jeweler. A man who knew more about stones than most men know about their own souls. But this time, his eyes held something unusual: tension, unease, a shadow that clung to him like smoke. He sat across from me, and the candlelight danced between us as though afraid to stand still. At last he spoke. "Count Orlov. I hear you are searching for a very special stone." I remained silent. He leaned closer. "There is a diamond," he continued quietly. "In Amsterdam. Nearly 200 carats. Exceptionally pure. The kind of stone one sees once in a century." He paused, a long, heavy pause. "The kind that carries more weight than words. But," he added finally. "But what?" I asked sharply. I had no patience for riddles. Lazarev looked at me with a strange solemnity, as if he were preparing me for something he wished he could leave unsaid. "Before you ask about the price," he said softly, "you must hear its story. A story you must not ignore." I nearly dismissed him. Legends are for the superstitious. I had seen death in battle. I knew that life ends because of people, not curses. "I don't need stories," I said. Tell me the price. But he didn't. Instead, he leaned closer, so close I could feel the cold from his coat and smell the bitter wax of the candles. Every man who owned it, he whispered slowly, died. All of them. Without exception. A chill ran through me, not because of the words, but because of the way he spoke them. Not as someone repeating a rumor, but as someone who had witnessed the consequences. If you want this diamond, Count, he continued, his voice dropping to a hush, you must understand what you are taking into your hands. And what you stand to lose. The air between us grew heavy. The silence thickened, pressing against the walls. And for the first time in years, I felt fear rise inside me, the same fear I thought myself incapable of feeling again. I met his gaze and uttered only one word. Tell me. Lazarev closed his eyes and drew a slow breath, as if preparing to open a door that had long remained shut. Then listen, Count, he whispered. For this story began far from St. Petersburg. Not in palaces. Not among snow and courts. But in a place where stones sleep longer than empires live. Where the earth remembers every soul that dared to touch its heart. The stone comes from Golconda, Lazarev said quietly, though his voice carried the weight of something far older than geography. From the same mines where the Kohinoor, the Shah, the Regent, and the Hope diamonds were found. But this one was larger than all of them. For a moment he simply watched the candle flame bend toward him, as though even fire leaned in to listen. How heavy was it? I asked. Around 400 carats in its rough form, he replied. A size so rare that miners believed such stones were not found, but awakened. They said stones like this were older than the gods men worshipped. And once cut from the earth, they carried with them everything the darkness whispered to them for millennia. He paused. Stones like that are almost a legend. Who owned it first? Shah Jahan, Lazarev said. The man who built the Taj Mahal for the love he could not release. He believed the stone had a spirit. He entrusted it to a Portuguese master cutter, Miguel Barbosa. And what happened? After the cutting, the stone became half its size, 189 carats. For the Shah, it was an insult. Barbosa was stripped of everything, his titles, his home, his craft. A month later, he died. 'Cause of death. Officially, exhaustion. But witnesses said he whispered until the end, I saw what I was not meant to see. What happened next? The stone vanished from all records. Until decades later it appeared in a temple near Madras. It had been set into a statue of Brahma, as the right eye. Why the eye? Because of its natural shape. Even after cutting it resembled an iris. In certain light, it looked alive. And the Frenchman? Lucien de Rouen. A soldier. At first indifferent, but once he saw the stone, something changed in him. He returned every day. Sometimes for hours. Eventually he became a novice, only to stay close to it. Why did he steal it? To escape it. In his letter he wrote, it sees me even through closed eyes. Did he sell it? Yes. To the first merchant he found. Not for money, just to rid himself of it. A week later he was found in a river. His last words, now it sees me from everywhere. Next owner? Nadir Shah. In 1739 he conquered Delhi and took its treasures, including this stone. Did he wear it? Never. He ordered it wrapped at all times. His treasurer recorded, it sees even through cloth. His death. Killed by his own soldiers. His last words, the stone knows. And then? Safras. An Armenian merchant. He bought the stone in Persia and hid it immediately in an Amsterdam bank. For 10 years he never opened the box. Why? In his will he wrote, the stone shows the truth. Not everyone can bear it. A sealed note remains with the stone. No one has dared to read it. Lazarev exhaled slowly, almost wearily. And that, Count Orlov, he finished quietly, is all we know. Stories. Legends. Coincidences, or perhaps not. I did not answer. The silence thickened between us, becoming almost alive. And in that silence I realized something unsettling. I feared not the tales he told, but the way something inside me stirred, waking like an ancient hunger. A desire for the stone. No matter its history. No matter the warnings. No matter the fear. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I believed in curses, but because I couldn't stop thinking about Catherine. I went through every story Lazarev told me, searching for a logical explanation. Barbossa could have died from stress. The Frenchman, from madness. Nadir, from betrayal. Safras, from caution. Everything can be explained. But when too many explanations gather, that becomes an explanation too. Around 4 in the morning I realized, if I didn't go to Amsterdam, I would regret it forever. Not because of the stone. Because of Catherine. At sunrise, I ordered my carriage prepared. Lazarev was already waiting, as if he had known. I'll go, I said. Everything is prepared, Count, he replied. The journey to Amsterdam gave me time to think. One question kept returning to me, why does this stone affect people so strongly? It's not the biggest. Not the purest. Yet everyone who touched it spoke of the same thing, its gaze. Sometimes I wondered, what if I feel it too? I pushed the thought away. I believed in logic. But the closer Amsterdam came, the harder logic had to work. The city greeted me with cold stone and silence, fitting for a place that stores questionable treasures. The banker who received me looked like a man who could no longer be surprised by anything. You wish to inspect the stone, Count? He asked. Yes. He nodded and led me toward the vault. The corridor was long, narrow, windowless. Only the echo of our steps. We stopped at a door with 3 locks. I must warn you, the stone has a bad reputation, he said. I've heard. 2 employees refused to enter this room again. A third described an unsettling presence. And you? Are you afraid? I fear only incorrect numbers. But the stone is unpleasant. He opened the first lock. Click. Then the second. Click. Then the third. The door opened. A small room. A single table. And on it, a dark metal box. That's it, the banker said. I approached. The box looked ordinary, but the air around it felt somehow heavier. I placed my hand on the lid. And suddenly everything inside me fell silent. Not calm, silent. As if something paused to see what I would do next. One movement, and I would know the truth. The banker waited without speaking. Whenever you're ready, Count. I pressed my fingers to the cold metal. A little more, and the lid would lift. I drew a deep breath. And pressed. And lifted the lid. I handed Catherine the box, and in that moment everything became clear. No surprise. No delight. Only a quiet, almost invisible nod. She knew I would do this. She knew long before I left. Before Amsterdam. Before all my doubts. For her, it was inevitability. For me, a choice I desperately wanted to call my own. I couldn't stay in the hall. Her calmness pressed on my chest. So I hurried home, faster than dignity allowed. Not to rest. But to finally read the letter. The same letter I had carried for nearly 3 weeks. And refused to open before. I didn't want it to influence my decision to give her the diamond. And now, the deed was done. I lit a candle, tore the envelope, and unfolded the page. The letter began with the words, "This diamond does not bring death. It brings truth. I was its last keeper, and I leave what no one wanted to hear." The first to learn that truth was not an owner, but the Portuguese cutter Barbosa. The stone never belonged to him. He only shaped it for Shah Jahan. But he sought perfection above all else. And when the stone showed him something beyond human limits, it did not kill him, it broke him. The first true owner was the Frenchman, Lucien de Rouen. He entered the temple by chance and stayed as a servant, just to be near the stone. Obsession consumed him. When he realized it, he stole the diamond to break free. But obsession left the temple with him, and followed him to his death. Nadir Shah saw power in the stone, and power made him weak. He ordered it kept wrapped in cloth. Yet fear never left him. In the end, fear killed him. As for me, I hid the stone in a bank for 10 years. And never touched it. Not because of a curse, but because of the truth it could show. I feared looking into it more than death itself. Remember, the diamond does not change people. It only reveals what governs them. If it has reached your hands, it has already seen something in you. The letter ended. I sat in silence for a long time, holding it. And I finally understood. The stone had already shown me my truth. I did not buy it for glory, nor for history, nor for myself. I bought it for her. I was not its owner. I was a moment that passed. But the stone does not pass. It keeps what people lose. Power, fear, obsession, love. It outlives those who place it in crowns, and those who lay their lives at its feet. It will outlive us, too. And when everything else fades, only one name will remain. The one it took from me forever. The Orlov diamond.